24 minutes in the book in the Zach LaVine era. Ryan in Sacktown with you, joined by Jerry Reynolds. Napes' voice is on rest management for the post-game show. We're saving him until then, Jerry. Orlando leads 62-60 at the half. Jerry, I'm going to give the floor to you. Overall thoughts of the Zach LaVine Kings?
Well, yeah, I thought, Zach really came out and showed you some passing skills early, really found Domas for a couple of easy baskets. And it's not that, that he's been that kind of player his whole career, but I think a lot of times we as fans forget that and just see him as a scorer. And he's always been more than that. So, you can see a little rust there and a little adjustment period. But, yeah, Zach LaVine's going to be really good. I don't think there's any question there. And, the Kings' offense was pretty good defensively. They struggled. Really gave up too many easy baskets, and I thought the only thing that I didn't care for late in the second quarter, a lot of ball stoppage, a lot of dribbling, just and spacing wasn't like we saw early in the game, and so that's something probably that want to kind of get, because this is a good defensive team.
Yeah.
You can't, the spacing is going to be a real key.
Yeah, Jerry, how long does it typically take to, and Zach LaVine's missed a couple games because of the birth of a child. He's flown now across the country to get to Sacramento, thrown into a new system, a new offense. What's the normal adjustment period?
Well, I think it really just depends on the player and the position and the team. I think all those things. I was watching Fox tonight, and I mean, he adjusted very quickly. But then I think it's easier for a point guard than it is for other positions, or
Sure.
probably point guard and center is probably the two easiest because they don't really have to do anything different. But for the other three positions, they're depending, on the offense and the point guard and center in particular. So probably a little tougher. But I think in general, the way the game's played today, where it's really you just reacting to the defense, it doesn't take as long maybe as it would have when you had real structured offenses like you did down in the 80s and 90s.
Very good point. Jerry Reynolds joining us. Kings down 2 at the half. They took their first lead late in the second quarter. Jerry, the Kings only got 6 stops in the first quarter, and they did not get back-to-back stops. Is Orlando's offense that good, or was the defense that bad?
Well, their offense is good. I mean, when they've got their stars healthy, which they haven't had most of the year, that's why their records was. But with Franz Wagner and Ben Caro, I mean, they're obviously two stars, and so they're tough to stop. But to your point, I thought the defense was really soft. They just pretty much got what they wanted. And that'll have to tighten up. I thought the Kings zone for a few spots looked very good, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And I can see where when Valanciunas comes, that might be a really an area that he could really help in a zone, really protecting the rim.
Yeah, a big acquisition for the Kings. Jerry, were you surprised that 2 second-round picks got it done for Valanciunas?
Well, the only reason I can tell you, don't know how many teams, but I think basically they were wanting to move him because he was their second pick in the draft last year. Sarr got hurt and he wasn't, and he's playing terrible anyway when he did play, and they had to play Valanciunas and they started winning. And that's the last thing that Washington wants to do.
That's so true.
So I think that's a big part of it. They said, we got to get this guy out of here because all of a sudden we can win games. And we want to make sure we have a better chance of getting Cooper Flag.
Yeah, Cooper Flag. It's a race for Cooper Flag. There's no doubt about that. Domantas Sabonis, very, very good first half. Another double-double. He eclipses his career three-pointers in a season in that first half. 16 points, 10 rebounds. Domas is Domas, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about him. I mean, he's one of those guys, the effort is the same. Some nights he puts up bigger. He's always going to put up numbers because he works so hard and is so tough-minded and hustles, outworks everybody. So he's always going to put up numbers. And some nights he just puts up bigger numbers, like tonight.
Yeah, the rim, it's funny. We're getting a lot of comments about protecting the rim against Orlando. How does that work where you're having trouble protecting the rim, but Domas is getting free range to the rim on the other side of the floor?
Yeah, well, I think as far as protecting the rim, it's tough. Domas is not necessarily a great rim protector anyway. I mean, that's probably is a weakness, but the Kings really have him out chasing wings a lot and
Yeah,
doubling out on the floor. So really, he's not in position to do that, and and very much. And so a lot of the breakdowns at the rim really is not his fault. It's other people supposed to rotate back. Obviously, if your big's out there doubling and chasing. So, uh, but that, like I say, that's where he, as a center, he's one of the weaker rim protectors. I think not that he doesn't work hard and try, but he's short armed and really not that tall. But there's no center that's as good out covering wings and guards.
great point. It's an excellent point. And Jerry's going to be back with us tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We're going to do our Kings Roundtable with Grant as well. We're going to talk all about the trade deadline. Still a little bit time left. The trade deadline tomorrow, 12 p.m. So we'll know if the Kings make any other moves. All in all, a pretty fun half where the Kings kind of figuring it out. 62-63. DeMar DeRozan looked like he dislocated that finger, left pinky on his non-shooting hand. Any concerns, you think, Jerry?
Well, yeah, it's where it'll show up probably more than shooting is dribbling, ball handling, those kind
Okay.
of things. Just as you know, you're playing. I mean, when you something like that happens, it's even hard to catch the ball. It hurts.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably affect him less shooting the ball just about than any other part of the game. So yeah, it's a concern. You just hope. I don't know what the seriousness of it is, but right now the Kings don't need injuries to their main players.
No, they do
They
not.
just need to have a few games to get all the new everything worked into this deal because this West, there aren't going to be any breaks out there. I mean, it's going to come down. I mean, you could easily this team could get in the top 5 or 6, probably top 6 spots, or it could end up 11th. I mean, it's that close.
It's very much like last year, even a little bit more competitive, I would say. And the
Hmm.
Kings really, this next stretch, Jerry, is probably the easiest stretch they have the rest of the season. And it's still not, particularly easy leading up to the All-Star break. Then it becomes difficult. Tonight is the first night of a back-to-back. The Kings in Portland tomorrow. Portland playing really good basketball. They've won 9 of 10 and seem to be figuring it out there. So the Kings will be looking to get there tonight and hopefully get a win tomorrow and tonight as well.
Yeah, it's a strange schedule, man. You come off a long road trip and you
Yeah.
you just have one game at home, and usually those are tough to. Really, the Kings come out. I think the team is with a lot more energy than I almost expected. But
Yeah, I agree.
I think the Levine thing maybe really has helped get everybody kind of fired up. The fans as well as the players. But yeah, then going on the road. Like I said, it's a tough. You wouldn't have thought it'd be a tough back-to-back at the start of the year, but the way Portland's playing now, it certainly looks that way. Their young players have really started to click in, and looks like DeAndre Ayton. It looks like he wants to play now for a while.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, I think he does. And so that's been a big help to him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry, I got a couple of questions about the deadline that we'll get to in a second. Certainly, I think one of the keys, Orlando 14 points off of 8 Sacramento Kings turnovers. The Kings need to clean that up. What else do you see as being a key or two here to the second half?
Yeah, I think that it probably is it in my mind. It's the number one thing is cleaning up the turnovers because, and really most of them were unforced. Really trying to be a little too cute out there, trying to make a play that wasn't there. So they've got to do much better there. And I do think really, packing the paint a little better. I mean they can make threes, but you just can't let them have as many little open area attacks to the basket. I mean, certainly, if your man's not in scoring position, get back and help.
It's a great point. It's a great point. Kings down 2 here at the half, 62-60. So with less than 24 hours, we're about 15, 16 hours out from the deadline, Jerry. You've got your big man now. You have a true two guard in Zach LaVine, which is going to be completely different for this Kings team to learn and integrate. And they seem to be excited to play with him. What are you looking at? Where can the Kings possibly still improve if there's a move out there?
Well, I think they could really could use a more of a proven backup point guard. To be honest, I mean, right now, I mean, we're hoping that Carter can become that guy, but you can't see that. You haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, but they need somebody that when Monk's not on the floor that can run the team, and it's right now it's a lot of pressure on Malik, and I think he, I mean, at some points I think that's part of the problem where he feels like he's got to make a play uh, every time he touches it, and that's about impossible to do. So I think there, and you could always use another wing, especially if you could get another bigger wing that could guard threes and fours. I think that would help. But I don't expect that. I think they're would be pretty well tapped out. But I am looking forward to Valanciunas because just to see if in fact I know he and Sabonis played together in international competition,
Yeah.
and the way they both can shoot the three pretty good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I would think it'd be a creative thing for Coach Christie, but you could see those guys in high-low situations, and where Domas maybe play the center on offense, and with some Valanciunas playing a little bit Brook Lopez on offense, but on defense, like he does in Milwaukee, a little bit of that same thing where Lopez really plays the basket on defense, but on offense plays out on the perimeter a little more.
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. And that can also move Keegan to that de facto three position, that or the three forward that you've talked about for a while as well.
Yeah, that's the most natural thing for him, and I think he'd be better at it. I mean, I think with Keegan now, he's probably the guy who has to adjust the most all the time.
Yeah.
A new player that really Zach LaVine, you're out there. He's out there to get shots. DeRozan, Monk, of course, Sabonis will do what he does. So there really isn't a lot for Keegan, and so you just hope as things go that they can find a way, to let him be part of the offense.
Certainly. So we're going to get your final score prediction here in just 1 second. Everybody in the chat, give us your final score predictions. I've seen a couple people mention this, and I was going to ask you anyways. I noticed DeMar DeRozan brought up the ball to start the game. Zach LaVine brought up the ball. Malik Monk was the third person to start bringing up the ball. Do you think that was just a scheme thing because of Orlando, or is that something we're going to see if the Kings don't get another point guard?
I do think it's a little bit of a scheme thing, and I think it's pretty smart on Coach Christie's part because I mean a lot of the times you want to bring the ball up against the least pressure, and sometimes the two guard or the small forward really aren't really going to put much pressure on the ball, so you're getting it down there in scoring position easier, and then you're either getting the ball to Sabonis or Monk with live dribbles, and I think that's something you got to look at. I've always thought. I mean, look for situations where the ball pressure is the worst, and try to attack that.
Makes sense. All right, Mr. Reynolds, I am giving you the honors. Final score. Which way you going tonight?
Sacramento Kings 118, Magic 114.
I like it. I'm going with you. I think you're going to get a much better offensive performance here in the second half. I think it's going to stay close, though. These two teams play pretty good games. This has been a well-played game for the most part. I'm going to say Kings 121, Magic 117. So we are on the same page. We light the beam, and you get your beam that you always ask for at halftime.
We need some beam. We need some beam. Need some home beam.
Absolutely. Take care of the front end of the back-to-back. Worry about Portland tomorrow night. Get there safe and sound. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we will see you tomorrow for the Kings Roundtable, and then tomorrow at halftime for Portland as well.
Can't wait. Tell the big boy, tell Mr. Napier now to save himself. We want him full tilt tomorrow.
Yeah,
he's got to play back-to-back too. We can't be having him, not able to step up to the plate,
100%. I'm with you. You know, the doctors just said, Napes, the analytics said you got to shut your voice down for halftime. So, you know him. He loves those analytics. Not so
Oh
much.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Jer. Thank you so
All
much for
right.
joining
See
us
you
here at the
tomorrow.
half.
Take
All
care.
right. Can't wait to see Jerry tomorrow. Can't wait to see all of you after the game. We will talk much more in depth about the moves that the Kings have made up until this point. Tomorrow with Jerry, we'll get you in there as well. But before all that, we've got a second half of basketball here from Sacktown already underway. Join us right after the game. We'll break it down for you. Grant will be here. We'll be taking your calls. The post-game show right here on If You Don't Like That. Enjoy the second half.